Welcome to Sound of Resistance channel. Russia is agitated after not getting the desired results in its invasion in Ukraine. Russia is boiling like a witch's cauldron. Nobody in Russia can trust anybody. Russia is looking for the days before February, before the invasion of Ukraine, with a candle. The impact of the defeats in Ukraine devastated Russia, and the country became uninhabitable. Although Russian leader Putin is shown as the only responsible for the bad course in Ukraine, those who guide Putin and report the latest situation in Ukraine to Putin are guilty. Putin's close circle misdirections about the war in Ukraine may have led to wrong decisions. Russian leader Putin is not only getting reaction from the Russian people because of the unsuccessful results in Ukraine. Among those who reproach Putin are his closest relatives, the Kremlin elite, and even important officers of the Russian army. The Russian leader has become unable to turn his back on anyone. There is no wall left for Putin to lean on. Although Putin took measures to rectify the bad course in Ukraine, things took a turn for the worst in Ukraine. The order in the Russian army is broken. The resignations of Russian officers continue to increase. The Russian army is experiencing a shortage of equipped soldiers in Ukraine. The Russian army was filled with rookie Russian reservists. This is cited as one of the biggest factors in the unsuccessful results in Ukraine. A new development that revealed the confusion inside Russia drew all the attention. FSB Letters leak exposed civil war between Putin's allies. Leaked emails from an information from Russia's Federal Security Service reveal allegations of a civil war between President Vladimir Putin and his closest allies as President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine continues to slow. The agent from Russia's Federal Security Service is called the Wind of Change, writing regularly to exiled Russian dissident Vladimir Osechkin, revealing the anger and discontent within the FSB over the war that began with Putin's invasion of neighboring Ukraine on February 24th. Russian dissident Vladimir Osechkin is a Russian human rights activist who runs an anti-corruption website. All of the emails were shared by Igor Soshko. Previous FSB letters written by the informant and published by Osechkin were analyzed by FSB expert Christo Grozev. He said he showed the emails to FSB officials, who he had no doubt were written by a colleague. The representative's latest November emails that the internal turmoil and conflict within the Kremlin, predicting an inevitable civil war in Russia and predicting that Russia will soon fall into abysses of terror as people become more and more weary of war. In leaked emails, whistleblower focuses on Putin's ally and founder of the mercenary Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, and Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov. Both Prigozhin and Kadyrov are among Putin's most trusted figures in the war in Ukraine. Prigozhin and Kadyrov continue to criticize how Putin's war against Ukraine was handled, rarely appearing to side with each other in opposition demonstrations, suggesting that cracks could arise within the Kremlin. The U.S. think tank Institute for War Studies also assessed in late October that Prigozhin and his military group could pose a threat to Putin's administration. However, the FSB agent said in response to assessment by the U.S. think tank, the Institute for War Studies, that there is no just power shift model in Russia. There is no way to change everything in Russia so that the country as a whole works and does not fall into the abyss of terrorism. The FSB agent wrote in a leaked email. He stated that his messages were included. The FSB agent shared his prediction in Russia, that at the beginning, the agent might just be a random mutiny with loot and chaotic clashes between everyone. Continuing his statements, the FSB agent said that Russian security agencies may be faced with the fight against Prigozhin's structures. The Russian agent stated that if the leaked emails are shared, the ground will move. There will be interregional wars with the sharing of agent resources, or there will be a clash of various powers for control over regions or parts of the country, said. The Russian agent said the country could be plunged into complete chaos. In addition to Russian agent statements, believe me, this is much more terrifying. I argue, and this is by no means the sole private opinion of a simple employee. We have ruined the country. We have destroyed the country. He said that is the process started with the mistakes made much earlier, not on February 24th, when this whole incident started. Chaos, civil war, collapse, yes, it is all ahead of us, the FSB agent said in Russia. It is inevitable, he said. Too many people in Russia have passed the point of no return. They plan to become petty tiers in a territories they managed to conquer. At least that's what they think, she added. The Russian whistleblower suggested that it would be easy for the Kremlin to suppress Prigozhin if he eventually poses a threat to Putin's rule. The ISW said Prigozhin has created a constituency made up of its supporters and its own fighting force, not under the direct control of the Russian army or the Russian Defense Ministry. Prigozhin therefore occupies a uniquely advantageous position within the Russian state structure and information space, which allows him to more easily expand his constituency in the country than the high military command, freely promote himself and his forces when criticizing the Kremlin authorities or the Russian armed forces. In a more urgent email dated November 8, the FSB whistleblower wrote Osechkin amid rising protests and riots in various parts of Russia over news that more than 1,000 Russians had been killed. Prigozhin's call for domestic terror in Russia warned that he was preparing the brigades. The Russian agent said during a meeting that Prigozhin's Wagner mercenaries were delegated authority and granted a regime of impunity and tasted approval for acts of aggression and intimidation against those protesting the war and Putin's policies. Our analytics and reports are running rampant, and they realize that the level of popular discontent is growing exponentially there, and we cannot extinguish it by legal means, the Russian agent added in their statement. Russia is not ready for internal revolt. Prigozhin and Kadyrov think that the right time has come and the moment to shine has come. Putin realized that if they both stop fighting and start dialogue, it will no longer be necessary. According to the Russian representative, he stated that both Kadyrov and Prigozhin will be funded for the war in Ukraine and return to their place in the system. The Russian representative added, but neither character is willing to accept it anymore, each of them seeing themselves as indispensable. The Russian agent said the FSB expects both Kadyrov and Prigozhin to carry out a series of provocations that will tarnish the service and point to his alleged inability to control the situation in the country. If everything goes according to Prigozhin's scenario, Russia may be under threat of losing control completely, the Russian agent said. It is said that Kadyrov and Prigozhin, who have not left his side for a moment since the beginnings of the invasion in Ukraine, pose a threat to Russia at this point in the war. Russia's war in Ukraine is about to turn into a conflict of interest. What action will the Russian leader take for the information contained in leaked emails? Thank you for watching us.